candidate for governor.
Have sexual relations
and
with
I
that woman.
realized that this is something he isn't
We're not going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival barkers.
One Republican, one Democrat, and you discuss the issues that matter in today's local, state, national, and global politics. Hosted by Steve Hickson with co-hosts John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey. This is Backfire.
Hey, this is Steve Hickson with Backfire. And John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey and our chief engineer, Daniel Brantley. We're live in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Everybody had a great week, I hope?
Every week's a great week.
Every week's a great week. Every week
that you're alive.
That's right. As long as you don't wake up with a new pain, right, John?
That's true. Actually, Brent Baer on Fox News, they were out skiing in Montana this past week, and the entire family was involved in a car crash. Car rolled over. They had to be taken out of it. All of them were taken to the hospital. They're all okay. But he tweeted that. He said, you know, you need to be thankful every morning that you're alive and not take things for granted.
You never know when you're gone. When you're gone, you're gone. Well. Anything interesting in the news y'all want to talk about today?
Oh, there's no news. Any news?
You're about right.
Where's the beef?
I guess one of the best things I saw this week, it was probably one of the, I got the biggest kick out of that than anything, was that big bus sitting on the side of the street with all those Democrats in it, and then Trump sending a letter that there was going to be no trip.
Well, I agree.
I thought that was hilarious. I wonder why they even thought they were going on that trip with the shutdown like it was.
Well, the same reason congressmen were flying home on the public dime yesterday and using the frequent flyer miles from their frequent taxpayer trade trips to upgrade to first class yesterday.
But Franklin, all of that is an individual decision on each congressman's part. There were also congressmen like Congressman Crenshaw who told him he wasn't going to accept his pay until the thing closed.
I admire.
This, on the other hand, was the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives organizing a large trip to use taxpayer funds in the middle of this.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was to like Club Med, right?
Well, you know, now that you mention that, let me read
Afghanistan.
you a little bit. Let me read you a little bit about her history with this.
Not her history, this trip, John.
Well, I mean, in 2015, she took another one of these trips to Italy and Ukraine. She spent over $184,000 on it. She brought 4 family members along with her. The delegation was scheduled to dine at restaurants, including James Beard American Restaurant in Milan, where a 5-course meal goes for $190. She also
and they have to pay for those, don't they?
No, they don't. Yeah, that was all charged. Almost $200,000, Franklin. Overall, you could send a student to Harvard University for 4 years for what she spent. Now, in comparison, Colorado Senator Cory Gardner's Codell trip with multiple stops in East Asia at that same year cost $26,000. She spent $200,000.
Okay. Let's talk about what's going to take to fix the problem we've got right now. What do you think it's going to...
Which problem is that?
Well, let's talk about the shutdown.
Okay.
And what the wall.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What's going to happen here? Where are we going to go with this? I thought Trump, by the way, made a wonderful speech.
Actually, so did the Washington Post. They thought it was a fair offer.
I think it was a great offer. I think it's at least a good start. So where do we go from here?
I think there's a compromise to be reached there.
Not with Pelosi, who said it's dead and she won't even look at it.
Okay.
She can't.
I think there's a compromise to be reached there.
Well, Pelosi's problem is that she's told off her
Pelosi doesn't have the problem. The president's poll ratings are falling, like rain on a March morning.
Oh, I tell
First
you,
off,
you're watching that other.
We really shouldn't be worried.
I'm not.
We really shouldn't be worried about this at all. The leader of the Democrat Party, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, says the whole world's going to end in 12 years anyway.
13. She gave us 13.
12 years, 13 years, we're all done anyway, according to the sage of the Democratic Party.
Where did y'all find her?
She found them.
Okay, whatever you want to say. You know what? I'll take somebody who gives a damn about what's happening to our planet over people who don't.
Well,
every time.
That's great, because what he's
every
doing,
time.
It's perfect. What he just did was he paralleled her statement that she'd rather be morally right than factually correct.
Actually, that's wrong, John. She's closer to being factually right than all the deniers out there on the right.
15 years we're done?
13 years.
You know, Jimmy Carter said we wouldn't have any oil by 1980.
Actually, what they're talking about is that there were several reports that came out this week which shows that the climate change problem is accelerating, and it's getting worse.
You mean like
faster than they predicted.
That's now closing?
Because of what, John? We're taking steps to deal with it.
You mean like what happened
to Greenland? You remember when we
Greenland?
banned the chlorofluorocarbons? Remember that?
You mean like what we happened to Greenland when it was lush and the Vikings had a complete settlement there within 300 years? It was a frozen wasteland? That kind of change? I guess the fluorocarbons back in, what was that, 1000 A.D. was
John,
causing that?
John, don't you have some measles or somebody to treat out there for all the anti-vaxxer friends out there who deny science also?
Oh, you mean like your party says that a baby that can be born at 5 months old isn't really a baby, even though it can survive? I don't know what you're talking about, John, and that's a lovely transition to the fact that your party is eat up with ignorant people who are denying science. Well, you know what, Franklin? We don't have people that say an island's going to turn over if the military puts too many ships on it.
Science, John.
That guy's still one of your top leaders in the House. He actually said that one of the Japanese islands would capsize if we put too many servicemen on
Science,
it. You think we need a 70% tax?
Do I think we need a 70%
tax?
Yeah. No, I do not.
Well,
but
your new leader does.
But it is your party.
Actually, it's 45% in your party, so I don't even know why we're having this conversation.
I'll agree with you. We're a little less silly than you are.
And you know what she did?
What?
She started a perfectly appropriate debate, and that was a great thing to do. Do I think a 70% tax is the answer? No. But do I think there is a higher tax that is appropriate? Yeah, I do.
Every time we cut taxes, total revenue's gone up. Every time. JFK said that the best way to start the economy is to cut taxes. That's John F. Kennedy, frankly.
Except that, John, when JFK was there, the tax rate was almost double what it is now.
I'm glad you said that, because in 1990, with those 90% marginal tax rates, 8 total, listen to this, 8 people paid that tax. 8 in 1960. Anybody that has that kind of money, they have accountants, they avoid the tax. So only 8 people paid that tax in 1960.
Well, I'm sitting here looking at somebody that's a writer from one of the politics and policy. And the writer says, for one thing, as Huffington Post, Jennifer Bentley writes, this is a classic Pelosi. There's little question that the speaker knows how to negotiate and how to fight. When you don't do anything, is that negotiating?
Didn't look like it to me.
And you don't do anything, is that fighting?
I mean, even the Washington Post said that the Trump offer was, at the very least, a good starting point for this. Nancy Pelosi's word was, we're not even going to discuss it. You know, it would have been great for her to make a counter proposal.
First of all, John, you don't get to selectively decide when you're going to listen to the Washington Post when you condemn them all the time.
I didn't.
Actually, you did.
First off, I haven't condemned the Washington Post.
I was just laughing at what you
listen to what I said.
But number two, much like the president just 2 weeks earlier when he walked into a room and said, "Are you going to give me what I want?" And they said no, and he left the room.
No, that's not fair. What he said was, if I give you what you want, if I get
that is not.
You are absolutely wrong. Look it up. He said, if I agree to end the shutdown in 31 days, can we talk about the wall? And Nancy Pelosi said, absolutely not. She's the one that rejected.
He said, there's nothing to talk about then, and left the room.
At that point, he did leave the room. But he made the offer to give her what she wanted first.
There's plenty to talk about. 60% of the public says they don't want the wall. That's something to talk about.
All right, let's talk about that.
That's amazing, because y'all wanted the wall when you were in charge. You passed it in 2006. You passed it in 2014.
Here's your problem with your analysis, John. we can have a conversation about border security, but once you've linked it to making everybody across the border into a murderous, raping thug, then you're losing that debate at that point.
walls are immoral.
Yeah, walls are
No,
immoral.
bigotry's immoral.
Really, Franklin?
Yes.
So was the community college that sits right on the border with Mexico immoral when they
How about
erected
the
an
district-
8-foot wall
how about
around
the,
their campus?
The longest
Franklin,
district in Texas,
8-foot wall.
who 75% of the residents
Well, ask
there
the Border
oppose it.
Patrol people in San Diego. They say where they've got a barrier. And by the way, the president actually conceded two things. He conceded Mexico would not pay for the wall, and he conceded that it wouldn't be a wall everywhere.
The president didn't concede that. The president lied about
Franklin,
it the whole
the
time.
president admitted they wouldn't do it. He actually humbled
He
himself.
said they weren't going to write a check, and that was pretty obvious.
But he also said it's not a wall
he said
everywhere.
He said he's made more than that in his
He
tariff.
also gave a statement and said, I never actually said they would pay for it.
Franklin, the Border Patrol in San Diego says where they have the barriers, they achieve 90%
Almost
control.
everybody could agree right now that there are places along the border
He said
where that would be
He
helpful.
said it wouldn't be a
Okay?
wall
That's what he-
everywhere,
that's
Franklin.
what-
No,
He's
that's
already,
not what he said.
Yes, he did.
He did,
No, it's
Frank.
not what
Yes,
the
he
president
did.
said,
Yes,
and you
he
guys
did.
aren't going to run away
Franklin,
from it.
he
did.
said
You
some
own
places
this
it would
moron.
be a wall and some places it would be a
You own
fence.
this moron
Wait a minute.
who has said,
See?
no.
Wait a minute.
We're
When we
not-
talk about
the
morons,
Democratic
who are we
Party
talking
is
about?
not going to embrace
When we
his
talk about
bigotry.
Wait a
His
minute.
bigotry. So was it bigoted when Nancy Pelosi built the wall around her house? Is that bigoted?
It wasn't bigoted then.
Oh,
Because
so it's
Nancy
not bigoted
Pelosi
'cause she
didn't
did it.
say everybody who wants to come to my house is a murdering rapist.
Why do
and
you
a
build
thug.
a wall if you don't want to control people coming in your house?
It
Why
was a
build
ma-
it? There's a community college, Franklin, on the border. They had crime. They had a real problem with illegal immigrants coming through their campus.
Mm-hmm.
As they came through, they stole things. They built an 8-foot fence around their campus.
Mm-hmm.
Their crime rates virtually dropped to nothing. Now, is that community college bigoted?
I don't know why.
By your standards, they are.
Now, here's the problem with your analysis.
The problem is you all are demagoguing this, and you
I'm
gave
not
it to Barack
demagoguing
Obama.
anything.
You gave $8
Here's
billion
the facts.
to Obama
The
for
people who come across that border commit a lot fewer crimes than the people who are already here.
You can't
That's a
prove
Well,
that.
fact.
tell,
You
tell
can't
that to
prove
the
that.
community college.
yeah. We
No,
can
you
do
cannot prove that.
For God's sakes. Everywhere you look, you'll get those numbers. Everywhere. Even Fox has reported that.
Franklin.
Do you pay attention to Fox?
If they weren't in the country, they wouldn't commit any
Fox
crimes.
reports all that.
If they weren't in the country, they wouldn't commit any crimes, Franklin.
Yeah.
Now, tell
How about-
that to the Kate
The
Steinley's
vast
family.
majority of them
Tell
are here
that to
legally.
Kate Steinley's family.
Franklin, we took a survey here a couple of weeks ago in this room. How many people wanted this done? And you lost. You were the only one that wanted
well,
it done.
there you go. I surrender.
Franklin, how much comfort is what you just said to Kate Steinley's family?
You know what, John?
You don't care.
How about,
What about the
how about
policeman that
people
shot
who
the
were
man
helped
after
by illegal immigrants here?
Well, you know what?
Or is it a comfort to them? Your view? That's just a nonsensical way of talking.
I don't have a problem with immigrants. I just want legal.
Well, guess what? Most of the illegal immigrants in this country.
Wait a minute,
most of the illegal immigrants in this country did not cross over the border the way you're talking about. Most of them came here legally and overstayed.
You know what, Franklin? That's why the president's offer should have been accepted,
That's
because a temporary reprieve for DACA would have been permanent, and everybody knows that. What you just
It might
said
be.
is an admission
It might
that
be.
it was a hell of a good offer he
It might
gave,
be.
and Nancy Pelosi rejected it out of hand.
We shall see.
Let's talk about the offer. $805 million for drug detection technology.
Mhm.
Was that good?
Yeah.
Okay. 2,750 border agents, new border agents.
Sure.
Is that good?
Sure.
75 new immigration judges.
Yeah.
That's good.
The people y'all were complaining about waiting too long.
There's a backlog of 900,000 cases.
Of asylum claims.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having lengthy trials for anyone must be changed by the Congress. He's saying that.
Mm-hmm.
New system to allow Central American minors to apply for asylum in home countries. Is that good?
Which is really
Central
how that was
American
supposed
minors?
to happen, first off.
That's what it said.
Minors?
That's what it
I'm
said.
not familiar with that issue, so I don't
Well,
have
that was
No,
part of
minors,
that was
age minor.
Oh, minors. I'll get it. I'm sorry.
Minors.
Okay.
Pardon my French.
Mhm.
Anyway,
There's a shortage of coal miners.
That's what I was looking at. I was like, huh?
$5.7 billion for
so
physical.
let me make sure I got this straight on that last one though. So there's a proposal for a way minors can
apply for asylum,
but not their parents
from their home country.
I'm just asking the question.
Franklin, the parents already have the option. That's how it's actually supposed to happen. They're supposed to go to the U.S. Embassy in their home country and apply.
All right. $5.7 billion for the physical barriers and priority.
You notice
locations.
it didn't say wall. It said physical barriers.
And priority locations. That's the way it was worded.
So that's an admission that it won't be a wall everywhere.
He went on to say that Democrats had supported this in the past.
They gave $8 billion to Obama in 2014.
3 years of legislative relief for 700,000 DACA recipients have already brought here unlawfully.
You know where he got that from? He actually stole that. He stole that out of a bill Dick Durbin, the minority leader in the Senate, put forward, the Democrat.
So far everything's good. Give them access to work permits, Social Security numbers, and protection from deportation.
Okay.
That's good?
Yeah.
Which part of all of this is immoral?
Extension of temporary protected status, TPS, 300,000 that are here facing deportation will have 3 more years to let Congress work things out.
Well, I know what I would have done if I were her.
What?
I would have responded and said, include DACA in the bill.
It isn't.
No, not a 3-year one, a fix.
Well, actually, he offered that previously. He offered that a year or so ago.
Yeah, and the Democrats offered him $25 billion for his wall previously for that.
So why
and
not?
And he walked away from that.
Why not 5 now? Why not 5? Was it immoral when y'all offered $25 billion 2 years ago?
That was for complete DACA.
Was it immoral?
I just read this whole outline, you didn't have a problem with any
first of all,
you didn't have a problem with any.
You got to talk about the way Congress works sometimes. Each one of those things you just talked about, with the exception of the wall, could be offered in a separate bill and would easily pass.
But frankly,
isn't that true? Do you agree with that?
Sure. In a separate bill with how much candy put around it?
Franklin,
no. Well,
you just said that they offered $25 billion for a wall.
That's right.
Was it immoral? Earlier you made the position that it was racist.
The wall. No, John. I didn't say that. You're not
How
listening
can
to
you
me.
give
Listen
$25
to me what I
billion a
just
year
said,
ago
John.
and say
Listen to
$5 billion now is immoral and racist?
Just listen to what I said. I didn't say building walls is immoral. I said the way the president has outright, explicitly made so many bigoted statements about immigrants.
What does that have to do with the wall?
It has a lot to do with it.
No, it has nothing to do with the wall.
Because that's the justification
Franklin,
he's given for it.
Look, Obama wanted to build the wall.
You can't justify it based upon any numbers or facts.
Calm down.
So what you're saying is we don't believe in it simply because Trump asked for it. That's what you're saying.
That's it.
So the security of the American people, when Obama's own Border Patrol chief says that they need the wall.
There's the problem that you're having right now.
Obama's
border crossings are at a 45-year low. It's not a crisis.
You can't make this right. You can't make a wrong right this week.
That's right. You can't, Steve.
You can't make a wrong right.
This president should go forth and say,
no,
I talked
this
horribly
border
about,
needs to be
fixed. I talked horribly about these people, and I was wrong.
Franklin,
That's what he should say.
The border needs to be fixed.
That's what he should say.
Do you agree
the border needs to be fixed?
You're admitting that you all are willing to hold the security of the American people hostage because you hate Trump.
We didn't shut the
government down. You hate Trump. That's all it is. You hate Trump.
Yes, you did.
No.
Yes, you did.
How many senators voted to open the government in December?
How many
voted for it?
How many of your people will vote for the compromise Mitch McConnell's putting forward this week?
How many will vote for the Democratic when they put forward?
Frankly,
what, to open the government with nothing?
What has Nancy Pelosi passed in the House?
Yeah. What?
Well, they'll pass it in a heartbeat.
What offer? She hadn't even put an offer out.
There's 2 in the Senate right now.
What? Open the government, and then we'll talk. That's their deal. Open the government, and then we'll talk.
Half of what the president proposed.
That's what should happen because it shouldn't have been closed to start with.
Half of what the president proposed, Franklin, came from your minority leader in the Senate's bill, his own bill that he put forward, and he'll vote against this.
Franklin, it's getting pretty obvious how stupid this is.
It's getting pretty obvious what the public thinks about this, and they're not blaming the Democrats.
Let's have another.
That's what's obvious.
Let's have another Russian.
You've got a president that doesn't care about the polls, Franklin.
He don't care. They don't care about.
He cares about them.
He does not. He doesn't care about anything.
You just use the polls to justify you all's reluctance to even make an offer.
No, he said it's pretty obvious, and I said not to the majority of the American
people. In the list that he just read, what in that list is immoral and racist?
Yeah, and what's wrong with what?
As I just said, John, for the 12th time, not that you care what I say.
I do care, Franklin.
No, what I said is, it's not the wall, it's the rhetoric he's attached to it.
So in other words, for the next 2 years, anything the president puts forward, your people will shut down. Is that it?
No.
That's what you just justified.
What you just said.
I'm just telling you, they're not going to show up and back his overt bigotry.
Even if it helps millions of American citizens. Thank you very much. That's the most honest thing you've admitted.
I love that, John. Millions of American citizens are going to be benefited by
this.
We care not about a darn bit of evidence to support that.
Both of you calm down. I want to go through this one more time individually. Plan $805 million for drug detection.
Is that
technology.
A good thing?
Is that good or bad?
That's a good thing.
All right. Number 2, add 2,750 border agents and law enforcement.
Is that a good thing?
Agents. Is that good?
Yep.
All right. There's 2 that's good. Add 75 new immigration judges to help take care of the 900,000 backlog cases they currently have.
Yep. That's a good thing.
Okay. Having lengthy trials for anyone must be changed by Congress. Is that good?
I'm sorry, what now?
He said they have lengthy trials. These $900,000 cases. He wants to cut down on the length of time it takes.
Okay.
A new system to allow Central American minors to apply for asylum in home countries. Is that good?
Okay.
These are minors, not minors. $5.7 billion for the physical barrier in priority locations.
Physical barrier, not wall.
Okay.
Is that a good thing or not?
No, is it?
I think that there, as I said before, there are some places along the border where you can make that argument.
Well, that same request was in every one of Obama's
Democrats have always supported that in the past. 3 years of legislative relief for 700,000 DACA recipients brought here unlawfully by their parents.
A good thing or not?
Yep.
The 3 years is progress.
Give them access to work permits, social security numbers, and protection from deportation.
That makes sense because you collect the tax revenue.
Okay. Extension of temporary protected status, TPS, 300,000 that are facing deportation will have 3 more years to let Congress work things out. Is that okay for a start?
It would be okay with me.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then, that was his whole proposal. So you're okay with all of it?
Well, let me ask a question.
Every bit of it.
So if he's indicated he'll sign that, so let's just assume y'all didn't even make any counter offer. Mm-hmm. If you pass that and he signs it and the government reopens, tell me why that's a bad thing.
I don't believe in government shutdowns.
So that would end the shutdown. And every one of those things you said was a good thing. Tell me why Nancy Pelosi rejected it out of hand.
Before he even presented it.
She hadn't even heard it yet, and she rejected it. Is that a reasonable person? Does that sound
because of the rhetoric he has used?
Let me ask you a question, Franklin. You negotiate.
What rhetoric are you talking about?
Where he said they're all thugs and robbers. Let me ask you a question, Franklin. I'm assuming you negotiate divorce decrees all the time, and you all have to go in and work on dividing the assets. If the other counsel walks in the room and says, your client is a sack of crap, and we're not going to accept anything you propose, what would you say about that? Is that a reasonable position on the opposing client's part?
John,
you know what you'd say.
I think the president's approach to this has been mind-boggling.
You mean to make that kind of offer?
Well, he's coming around now, finally.
And she rejected it before she even heard it.
Hey, Franklin.
Well, okay.
Wait a minute.
Let me read you something and ask your opinion.
No, wait a minute. I want to finish my thought process here. He, they don't want to do anything because his name is Trump. you just agreed to everything he wanted to do.
No,
there.
that's not true. There's tons of things he could do. He just hadn't done
No,
them.
wait a minute.
Well, every one of those things you said you
agreed to
agreed
every
with.
one of them. You
I
agreed.
that's the approach I would take.
You said
I
it was
just
a good
would
thing.
be okay.
Every one of them.
You
would
didn't
be
have
good.
a problem with any of it. It was all good.
Let me read something to you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. $7.8 billion in increased budgeting for U.S. immigration and customs enforcement. Are you for that?
$7.8 billion.
Can it be used for a barrier?
Look, I'm not done.
But can that? I know, but can it be used for a barrier?
That's the people who are down there enforcing the border. That's a big increase in their budget. Are you for that?
Well, he's adding
I'm not
2,750
talking
border
about his
agents.
proposal. I want you to answer my question like I answered yours.
Okay, if it'll help pay
Sure.
for the 2,750, okay.
All right, $224 million for technology that allows them to inspect trucks and other vehicles coming across the border.
Well, he had
Are you for
800.
that?
He had 805 million for that.
I just ask you, is that a bad thing or good?
Sure,
thing?
okay.
Okay. All right. $7.7 million to hire 328 additional U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. $366 million for more border security technology. That's drones, cameras,
Sure.
so forth. That. Okay. $1.3 billion for new fencing in the Rio Grande Valley.
Not enough.
Is that a good thing or a
It's
bad
good thing, but it's not enough.
Okay. Well, there's the Democrats' proposal. So
What about the
they
what about the
proposed to get-
75 new judges?
They didn't.
They
Take
didn't
care
put
of
that in their
They,
proposal.
So
they
his-
didn't take
his-
care of the 900,000 backlog
Nothing
cases.
for DACA.
Nothing
So
for
the
DACA.
party that
They
says
didn't do
they're
anything
for
for
DACA
DACA.
So hold on. So
made no offer.
So that proposal was from the Democrats without even getting the DACA proposal. So it's not that
When
they're
did they give that?
Frankly, some people would
That
look at
was
this
the
and
offer
go,
that was on the
some
table
people
to
would
the
look at this and go, the
That's
president
actually-
sweetened the deal with the DACA thing to get a little bit
That's
more
actually
on
what he
the
turned down.
border fencing, and your people turned him down. Y'all gave
My point is
Franklin.
not. Hold on, let me finish. My point is not whether that's the best approach or not. The point is, this suggestion that the Democrats are just opposed to everything is not true.
Franklin, she
Franklin.
rejected it out of hand without even hearing.
She didn't even hear what he had to say.
That was his.
And in
that was her
2014
offer. That's the one he walked away from.
In
Steve.
2014, you all gave $8 billion to Obama to build a fence. $8 billion.
Okay.
What-
And as I pointed
was that
out-
immoral?
The fence is not.
Frankly,
for the 19th
Nancy
time,
Pelosi said the
again,
fence
John,
is immoral.
John, how
Nancy-
many times do I have to say something before it gets through to you?
You say it, but that's not what Nancy Pelosi said.
I'm not.
Nancy-
First of all, I'm not Nancy Pelosi.
She's
I'm
the
Franklin
leader
Jensen.
of your party.
And you're here.
She's
and
the
here,
leader
You're
of
here
your
arguing
party.
with me, John.
The leader of your party, Franklin.
And the leader of your party is a freaking bigot.
Wait a minute.
Why don't you just
Wait a
embrace
minute.
it?
Wait a minute. Why don't we say things about your party?
You can.
Okay? Are they?
What do you mean? Why don't you? You say it every week.
Let me ask you a question, Franklin.
What are you talking about?
Let me ask you what party you have right now. What party are you in?
The big tent party we've always had.
Wait a minute. The liberal side of it or the
All of
Democratic
them.
side?
All of them.
So you're
Franklin-
part of all of it now.
Absolutely.
You agree to 75%
Absolutely.
tax cuts and all this stuff.
To what?
Whatever, 70% tax rate. You
That was
agree
on
to-
income over $10 million, by the way.
All right. So you agree to that.
So it was a marginal tax
You
rate,
agree
not
to-
75%.
But
of
frankly,
the
it means the people in the middle, the small business people, will probably have over a 50 or 60%. That's what 70%
No,
means.
that's not what
It's
it means at
graduated
all.
all the way down, Franklin. It's
You probably-
always.
You probably agree.
And by the
taking
way,
down all
since
the
you're talking
bonds
about
around the
bigots,
country?
Franklin, what about the senator from Hawaii saying basically if you're a faithful Catholic, you can't have any place in government?
I haven't heard that statement, but I would disagree.
hey,
But I would disagree with it.
What's their wall got to do with the State of the Union right now?
Naked politics. I wouldn't have done that, by the way.
Naked politics.
That's what
are you-
it is.
What are you talking about? Tell me what you mean by
It was a
naked
purely political thing to do. I wouldn't have done it.
How
It's
about
not the
the
way I
fact
would have
that
done it.
how about the fact that she actually lied about the Secret Service? They actually officially contradicted her and said she had never even contacted them.
Frankly, it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of weird stuff going on from the left side. I won't even call them Democrats anymore, from the left.
Well, it's pretty obvious that the president's doing a masterful job
I think-
of obscuring all the other chaos that's going on in his administration.
Here's what I think you're going to
That's
do.
what's frankly happening.
If you don't hurry up and wake up and see the light, I think your
There'll be a Democratic president,
No,
is what they'll
your
be.
Democratic buddies are all going to vote Republican. Let's take a break.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson. We'll be right back after this.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. Whoop FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Another SOS, and you're stressing, and that's the time to check in. Check in to cash, check in. When you have a cash emergency, you check in. We understand the urgency. Check in to get your loans and more. You gotta check in with your checking to cash. Sure. Walk in, call in, click in, go all in. Check in to cash in, check in to cash. Your one-stop money shop. Check into cash.
Matthews Pool and Spa Company, located in Cleveland, Bradley County for over 45 years. You know them. They're your new swimming pool construction and supply company in Cleveland, Tennessee, now with 4 generations of Matthews to serve you. Matthews Pool and Spa Company, for over 45 years, your swimming pool construction and supply company, spa or hot tub installation and maintenance. Get all of your supplies for your pool or spa right now. That's the new location in the old Quinn Electric Company building behind KFC at 2724 Keith Street in Cleveland. Call Matthews now, 476-4521. You better get your order in now for your new pool construction for this spring and summer. 476-4521. Matthews Pool and Spa Company. Gonna jump in. Woo!
No dealers allowed.
Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933, offering the best with over 70 styles of recliners, sofas, electronic lift chairs, full living room packages. Call Mike now at 961-7239 because Jackson Catnapper now offers sales to the public
every Saturday. That's right, every Saturday.
From 8 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Or call Mike at 961-7239 or go see him
every Saturday
at 1911 King Edward Avenue, just across from the main plant. Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933. 961-7239.
No dealers allowed.
Attention, Cleveland area creditors. Are you tired of dealing with debtors that owe you money? I'm Jeff Renfro, and I've owned and operated Financial Recovery, a debt recovery specialist here in my hometown of Cleveland for 18 years. We're a licensed and bonded Tennessee collection agency working for a wide variety of creditors, from commercial, manufacturing, physicians, dentists, attorneys, small business owners, to individuals. Look, any kind of business dealing with billing, charge accounts, or even return checks. I know your past due accounts are not a top priority for you, but they would be to me. Let me try to make it easy for you to make a change in the way you've been handling your accounts. There's no contract and no cost to you in most cases, as our fee of only 30% can be added to the balance owed to you. So, whether you have hundreds of accounts monthly and need help with your billing and collection, or you're just an individual and somebody owes you money, let me help you. Give me a call at 400-5376 and I'll come by and see you. That's 400-5376.
Financial Recovery, a licensed and bonded collection agency in Cleveland, Tennessee, 400-5376.
We're at the Train Heating and Air Conditioning Testing Facility to experience their infamous torture tests firsthand.
Good morning, kid. This is cold. I'm surrounded by HVAC units covered in a layer of ice and snow. I get it. It's hard to stop a train.
Ready for a heating and air unit that's been tested in the harshest environments possible? Stop thinking about the other guys and get a Train. Call Mechanical Systems today to get your home on the road to comfort. 336-5739.
Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Whoop FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
Well, we're back. I was just giving them a little update on how much I like Trump while we was taking that break.
You like Trump?
I love Trump.
Really?
I think Trump's the best thing we've ever had in Washington. Let's take a call. Go ahead, caller. I'm interested in what you have to say.
Well, the Republicans, they need 60 votes. Okay, when Obama was in there to pass something, and they fixed it where they just needed 51 votes. Well, they need 7 Democrats to break rank, and that's not going to happen, because if they do, them 7 people would, the other Democrats won't be able to fool with them if they break rank. But how come Trump and them don't fix it where they need 51 51 votes to pass what they need on there.
John, you're probably the best one to.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoy your show.
Thank you, Colin.
Well, I mean, the problem is the Senate functions as a gentlemanly body.
Right.
And so the rules are based on people being gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in our culture, that's falling apart. And so nobody's really honorable much anymore. And that's what Harry Reid, when he changed the rule for confirming judges to 51, he was told, you'll regret this. Well, now we're confirming judges with 51, and they're having to live with it. And so there's a reluctance to just completely destroy all of these rules.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, what John said is correct, but it's important to understand that the 60 votes on all other legislation is the same now as it was when Obama was in office. It wasn't 50 votes then. It was 60 then, too.
The 51 was on
It was only on
judicial.
some judges.
That was on the judicial side only.
The 60 votes that's required today to pass this bill is the exact same rules that were there when Obama was in office.
But here's the point.
Whether you agree with or disagree,
Here's
that's
the
not what
point.
I'm saying.
It used to be that if some extreme liberal put a bill forward, somebody might have a problem with it. They would get up and they would hold that bill up and they would voice their concern. And then all the other senators, even if they disagreed with the bill, would vote well over 60 to allow the bill to move forward. Because they're looking at it going, we'll bring it up, we'll talk about it, we're going to vote against it. It'll win or it'll lose. Now it's gotten to the point where the minority holds the entire country hostage by going, we're not even going to allow you to talk about this. We're not going to allow you to have a vote because we know it's going to pass. So that's the problem. The rules originally were meant to simply protect one senator's ability to at least get up and say, before it was passed, here's my problems with it. But it's now basically the Senate's operation has been taken hostage by people that just aren't decent, to be perfectly honest.
All right, so I just want to make clear that Franklin, again, liked everything Trump laid out in his proposal. But now then, for some reason, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats want to prove something that Franklin believes in 100%.
I didn't say that there aren't better proposals out there, though. That's a different thing.
Well, Franklin, when you're representing someone in a divorce, do you ever get everything you ask for?
Me, personally?
No,
every time.
Okay. All right, let's say on average other lawyers, in
that's
any kind of
one.
negotiation, do they ever get everything their client wants?
Of course, there's some give and take, John.
Well, Franklin, let's say that the judge sends you all back for mediation. If the one client walks in and says, I'm not going to agree to anything that person says.
If you want to have a truly honest discussion about this, John, here's what I would tell you about negotiation. It rarely succeeds when both sides have a draw a line in the sand position that neither one of them is willing to give
Did Trump
up.
concede something in his offer?
That's not what I'm talking about.
But
he's got a draw in the line position on the wall. No.
He said he was willing to negotiate.
Listen, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm not criticizing him or her. I'm actually criticizing both of them equally. When both sides do that, negotiations rarely succeed.
All right, Franklin, let me ask you a question. He asked for $5.7 billion. If Nancy Pelosi had simply picked that up and said, we're going to accept everything in here, but we're going to give you $3.7 billion, do you think there's a possibility Trump would have said maybe?
That would be one way of responding.
You mean that would be someone who actually genuinely wanted to solve the problem?
And that may be what happened.
She doesn't want to solve the problem because just like you just, gloated about, you all are looking at poll numbers and that's all you care about.
Well, there are negotiations that take place in public in Washington, and there are negotiations that take place out of the public eye in Washington, and you know that as well as I do.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I think you all are grossly underestimating what the vast majority of the public will think.
The vast majority
you all
of
are
the
taking
public,
polls by your left-wing, crazy progressives. And that's who Nancy Pelosi is hostage to. She's hostage to the progressive wing of your party.
The real clear politics average, John, is not left-wing crazies.
I tell you what, Franklin,
and you look at it too.
Franklin, y'all got a lot of people starting to want to run for president because it's going to be a circus. This is going to be not a 3-ring circus, about a 12-ring circus.
Okay.
Is what it's going to be. And I'm going to say something. By the time you get down to one candidate to run, you might not be voting Democratic.
They'll make George McGovern look like a conservative by the time they're done with this process.
Which would, by all measures, be far closer to what the majority of Americans think.
Franklin, the
majority of the Americans elected Trump. Franklin,
no, they didn't.
The majority,
they didn't. We've done this
under the American system, they did.
Under the American system.
He didn't say a majority of the electoral college, John.
There you go. There you go with your lawyerly answer.
Ain't nothing lawyerly about it.
Yes, it is.
The fact is, more people voted for the Democrat than the Republican.
And the fact is, we don't have a true democracy where that makes a difference.
The fact is, that's 4 out of the last 5 elections.
Does it make a difference,
I don't know why
Franklin?
this math isn't
because
working.
it doesn't make a difference.
Because it will make a difference.
Yeah, if y'all get your way.
It will
if you get your way, you guys want to do away with the electoral college.
Listen, John, it's not going to matter. You're losing other states.
You want to bring votes into this country.
You've lost Nevada. You're on the verge of losing Arizona. You've lost New Mexico. It's spreading. Okay. And you can say, oh, well, we still won the Electoral College. You might another election cycle. Maybe you will. But I'm not seeing it.
When the Democratic Party...
By the way, the president's approval rating is not very high in Pennsylvania and Michigan.
It wasn't that high when he won.
Hey, Franklin, let me tell you something. When the election comes, I'll bet money and lay it on the line Trump beats whoever you put up in front of him.
And Franklin,
another Hickson prediction.
If everything you said comes to pass, when you all make the United States of America Venezuela, the people will turn on you.
Why would they want to go towards?
Because they're ignorant of the facts.
The question is, why can't you guys debate issues instead of throwing names around, which is what all you did?
I said socialism. Are you?
You haven't answered me. You've never answered my question.
Do you think your party's leaning towards
Do
socialism?
you think we ought to have police departments? That's socialism.
Franklin.
God.
Do you think we ought to have fire departments? That's socialism.
No, actually, 70% taxes is socialism.
Do you think we ought to have Social Security, Steve? That's socialism.
Those have a socialistic principle.
Yes,
but there is
do.
a difference between that and a socialist government. You're the progressive wing of your party, which is ascendant in the Democratic Party, is actual open. We want socialism as the form of government. That's what your people want. And that's who Nancy Pelosi is hostage to. I guarantee you, when you listen to Clyburn, when you listen to Stoyer, when you listen to all them, they absolutely hate these progressives because they're destroying you all's party from the inside. Okay. But they're hostage to them.
Come election time, there's going to be a lot of Democrats vote Republican, I think.
Did you hear what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said this past week? I read this, and I actually thought it was a joke. I thought the writer of the story had actually put this in as just a sort of example of the idea that she's putting forward. But then I read, she actually tweeted this. In the Democratic caucus, there's a lot of complaints about her. There's complaints about sort of the way she's going at these things. She's creating issues for them they don't really want associated with them, and so they're fussing about it. So she tweets this out to her own caucus. You don't understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. That's a quote from the Watchmen novels. That's the Rorschach, this criminal that they put in an insane asylum, and that was his comment. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. That's Cortez's comment to your own caucus. Look it up. Look it up. No, Frank, it's not that it's scary. It's the sheer audacity of her.
Listen, John.
Weird.
You listen. You're the guy who's got Steve King's in your party. Don't tell me about
I'm glad you brought that up. No, wait a minute. I'm glad you brought that up. We stripped him of all his committees.
Yes, you did, John. 10 years after he started all this crap.
Do you know who killed his further censure? They were going to censure him worse. Your caucus and Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer killed it because Hoyer actually said this might come back to bite us. So it's your Democrats that kept him from being further censured.
What did he do? I've never seen.
He more or less said there wasn't really anything wrong with white nationalism.
He endorsed a freaking Nazi for mayor of Toronto.
He's not a Nazi.
Yes, she was.
He's not a Nazi.
She was. Yes, she was. And they thought so too. She got like 3%
we were going to
of the
censure
vote.
him worse, and your Democrat leadership killed it.
Because they thought he should have been.
No, we were going to censure. We were.
Even
the Republicans.
Worse, they thought.
No, they didn't.
They
Franklin.
did.
Steny Hoyer said it would come back to bite them. So your people killed him being censured even worse.
Let's talk about the media treatment over the Covington students this week. Franklin, it looks to me like the whole news network is gone psycho.
The scary thing here is, I'll be honest
psycho.
with you, doing this show, I have some of the same fears that those students have, that someone's gonna decide to go after me. And that's Franklin, as a civil libertarian, you should be terrified by what we're seeing in our pop culture now as far as what's acceptable and what they do to people that they decide is not acceptable.
Well, you've got a lot of issues to talk about.
Well, let's talk about them.
If you're telling me that your view is that frequently we should cut people some slack for moments that they have in their lives that maybe weren't the best ones, we shouldn't.
All right, what did the Covington boys do wrong?
Well, I'll go down my list.
They wore a Trump hat. They had Trump hats.
Can I finish my statement?
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right. Then I would tend to agree with you. There was a great article in the paper this week by a Republican, a moderate Republican, David Brooks.
He's not a moderate Republican. He's a liberal, and he's basically a
Democrat. He's a lifelong Republican.
He can claim that, but he's a liberal.
We call him rhinos. We call him rhinos.
Yes, I know you do, because if you don't goose step right, you're not a Republican.
There you go. What you just did, Franklin, was what we're talking about.
If
you're a Republican, he just called you a Nazi. He just called you a Nazi if you're a Republican. That is shameful, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Democrats don't have
You should be ashamed of yourself, Franklin.
We don't have rhinos.
And by the way, just so you know,
the
Nazis were from the political left.
You got far left liberals?
We don't have a rigid rule that you got to think one way, or you're not really a Republican.
You're Hirona and Kamala Harris just basically said if you're a Catholic, you can't be confirmed as a judge. They were actually criticized by the very Senate they sit in. And then Hirona came back after. She did say it, Franklin.
Say if you're a Catholic, you can't be confirmed as a judge.
Franklin, she told
let's talk about the Kavanaugh
judge that he was a member of a racist organization because he was a member of the Knights of Columbus.
Let's talk about the Kavanaugh hearings.
Now, let's go back to what we were talking about.
All right, go ahead.
Before you called all Republicans Nazis.
I didn't use the term rhino. He did.
No, you said if you're a Republican, you're a Nazi.
No, I'm saying you guys got to march. You got to toe the line, or you're not a Republican.
You didn't say that. You said
know
goose
what
step.
I call a rhino?
You said goose step.
You know what I think a rhino is?
Here's the problem. The Republican Party used to have a moderate and a liberal wing. Now, that's not allowed.
I think a
rhino, the reason we don't
a rhino
is
a politician who's been into politics too long, and he's starting to think like a liberal. That's what I think a rhino is.
Franklin,
now
this Covington story is exactly what you just did. By saying goose step, you basically called all Republicans Nazis. And that's what's wrong with our culture
I'll tell you
now.
what I think about this Covington story, okay? Because I went to the trouble of watching all 47 videos of this thing start to finish from all that.
What did you do the rest of the week?
Not much, apparently.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
So
how can you justify that?
So let's talk about what the facts actually are.
Go ahead.
Okay. The facts actually are, and I'll go down my list of grievances about it. Okay, we've got a church who's getting tax exempt status, sending people to Washington for a political march. That offends my view about what ought to happen.
So, folks, all Christian schools out there, all churches will now lose their tax-exempt status.
If they're going to engage in political activity, sure.
What were they
That's
doing?
not political activity.
They were there for the right to life march.
That's moral activity,
They weren't
Franklin.
doing that at home.
That's
they
moral.
weren't talking to
it's
their
moral
parishioners
activity.
about it.
It's
they
moral.
went all the way to Washington
it's moral
to participate
activity.
in a political
It's not a political, it's a moral activity.
Yes, they were.
What's right to life about? Tell me what is
their pro-life views.
Morality.
I'm not taking their views away
Morality.
from them. Okay. I'm not taking their views away from them.
You're just taking their ability to say anything in public about it.
No, not at all. It's an organized effort by a church body to do it.
Franklin, what he's doing, folks, is trying to shut your church down from having any influence in the community.
Not at all.
What are you saying that then?
I just said my list of things that they did.
What's wrong with a Catholic school going to this march?
There's nothing unless you get tax exempt status. You don't get tax
He's
exempt
talking about
status.
they don't pay
A year
taxes
ago,
on the local
express your
level.
view.
So now you're attacking a local level. You're saying
That's
the local
because
level
it's been
shouldn't.
upheld by the United as being constitutional. I disagree with that.
So, folks-
Number two, I'll go to the next episode. There is something highly ironic about a bunch of young men going to Washington to tell women what to do with their bodies.
There you go. You don't have a right to your opinion.
Number three.
That's the second thing.
Number three. I didn't say that.
You don't have a right to attack
I just said it's ironic.
and you don't
Number
have a
three.
right to your opinion.
Number three, I can't imagine anything more ironic.
Wait a minute. Isn't there two people involved in making babies?
Yeah. There are.
Okay, then how's it come a woman's event?
Huh?
Because the fathers have no rights.
Fathers have no right. Go ahead.
Yeah. Number three, there's something really ironic about wearing "Make America Great" hats again in the middle of an indigenous people's
Well, let me
march.
ask you a question, Franklin.
It was really great for them, wasn't it?
When I was at Cleveland Junior High and I walked around with Lamar Baker and Bill Brock bumper stickers on my folders, I guess I was stupid too and should have been punished, I guess, and thrown out of school, right?
No.
Because I did it. I did it back in the 70s and no one said a word.
Yeah. Number four, what actually transpired here, okay? And the reason I have problems is because I don't feel like the young men are now being honest about what transpired.
Let me tell you what he's saying. This is really rich because the Native American guy who has now been showed to have basically lied about this, on top of the fact that he lied about being a Vietnam veteran, he now said that he doesn't want to meet with them because, quote, this is his own words, which is Franklin's mirroring, they stole my narrative. So they put out other video that contradicted his details about how it transpired, and so he calls that stealing his narrative, which was false. His narrative was false.
What was he there beating on the drum for?
Well, first off, Franklin, who approached who?
Let me finish my story.
Okay, tell your story.
Okay. Here are the facts. All right. There were 3 different groups on the mall there at that point, on the steps of the...
What were the boys doing
Let me
there?
finish. I know you love to talk,
well, you've
John.
been talking for about
good
5
Lord.
minutes about it,
All
but
right.
go ahead.
Number one, there was a group called the Black Hebrew Israelites.
Okay. And what were they
That group was yelling a lot of stuff at these kids.
And how many criticisms have you seen in the New York Times of them?
Quite a few.
None.
Quite a few. That group was the one who was yelling these things at those kids.
No, actually, the guys with the Indian told them that they had raped the land. They should go back to Europe. His own guy said that to him. Yes or no? Did you see that video?
All these videos.
Yes. Did you see the one with his guy saying that they stole the land and they should go back to Europe? Yes or no? Did you see it or not?
Yes, I did. The thing that the kids said, however, they were reacting to was what those other groups.
Where did you see the kids say "Make America Great Again" or "Build the Wall"? Where did they? Because part of his story was they were chanting "Build the Wall." Did you see a single "Build the Wall" chant on any of the 43?
Yes,
no, not by them.
I did.
They did not say that.
Let me finish now, John.
Did they say it?
John?
No, they didn't.
I realize if you talk all day, nobody will ever be able to contradict you.
The second half of this
John,
all time.
I will gladly put up the amount of time you talk versus mine.
Can you wrap it up?
No, because I'm interested in facts.
Well, you haven't given any.
Facts sometimes are messy, John.
You haven't given any yet. Why don't you get to some facts?
All right, let's get to the facts here.
And
we ain't got to eat there
the
yet.
The facts are that these kids then started doing some school chants or whatever in response to those black Israelite
yelling all the slang terms at them and everything.
That's slang terms. You should. We can't repeat what they were saying.
Okay.
To them.
Yeah, that's right.
And this few Native American guys, then his view, I don't have any reason to doubt him. That's what he said is, I decided to get between them.
And so what did he do? Who approached who?
He walked up to the kids.
So when the first narrative came out that the kids had surrounded him,
and what did they do?
Did he contradict
What
it?
did they do then?
They stood there.
No,
they were waiting to be picked up, Franklin.
Really?
That's all they were doing.
Really? When they started doing the tomahawk chop?
One kid did
not
that.
one kid.
And nobody
And
actually
if you
knows.
say that,
Franklin,
John, you didn't watch these videos.
Franklin, first
and then
off,
they started mocking his chants.
No, they didn't mock his
Yes, they
chants.
did.
If you listen to the tape, Franklin, if you listen to the tape, one of the kids actually says,
they did.
I don't know what's going on. We don't know what to do.
John, if the answer to your question is the kid said...
The kids are wrong now, John.
The kids
are wrong.
Of course they're wrong. They were wrong the minute they had a Make America Great Again.
If the kids said, we were confused and didn't understand what was going on.
They did say that.
One of them did, John. The other ones.
Oh, I'm sorry.
issued a
So I guess
statement
they should have
making
written
themselves
it
out to be
down,
victims.
passed it out to everyone, and said it in unison.
If you're standing there talking to your friends and a guy walks up beating a drum and stares you
stands
right in the
that
face,
far away
and
from your
stares you
nose.
right in the face, and
This
starts
is a
beating the
15
drum.
or 16-year-old kid, Franklin. These are adults.
Who was doing something so intimidating?
He was waiting on the steps for the bus to pick them up.
Who was, and this American Indian was being so intimidating.
You mean the American, what, is he a Vietnam veteran?
Actually, the Washington Post issued a statement that they said that, and he had not said that.
Did he contradict it? No.
Yeah, it actually said he was a veteran, not a Vietnam.
Here's what he said. He said, I'm a Vietnam-era veteran.
That's right.
Look
They
it up.
quoted him wrong.
But then when everybody quoted or listed him as a Vietnam veteran, he never contradicted them until the Washington Post came out and said, you know what? He didn't serve in Vietnam. On top of that, Franklin, did he contradict the original story that he was surrounded? Did he go ahead and say, I approached
no, they
them?
did surround him at that point.
No.
Yes, they
God,
did.
Franklin, he approached them.
Whether he approached them or not, John,
It makes
his
a huge
intent,
difference.
which you have no evidence to supply, was not threatening to them.
Let
It
me
was
ask
not
you a question. Let me
intimidating
ask
to
you a
them.
question, Franklin. So you're in a tight situation with someone else, and I walk up and I stand 3 inches away from your nose, looking you in the face. I don't pat you on the shoulder and say, it's okay, I'm going to help. I stand 3 inches away from you, and I start doing some odd cultural thing that I don't understand. You don't understand. Yes, Franklin.
Beating the drum.
They had
going,
no idea what was going on. They were scared. They're young kids. And by the way, they had to close their
They
school.
weren't scared. They were laughing, John.
Franklin, they
That's
were
the
scared.
point. This is where it gets crazy. I will perfectly agree with you that those things can get misconstrued. I will perfectly agree with you that the media runs with stories too fast sometimes. I'll go along with all that.
They're
but
getting
then you're
death
going to
threats,
spin it
Franklin.
to they were scared.
They're getting death. They're getting death threats, Franklin. Is that enough for you? How much do you need? How many pounds of flesh from the Trump people do you need?
They weren't
How
scared
many
of him.
pounds of flesh?
They weren't
Now
scared
we've
of
got
him.
young
That's
children.
why the kid's there with that smarty
Franklin,
look on his face.
through this,
He's terrified.
Franklin, through this whole discussion, with all your soliloquy that you had to give, you never once said, I'm really concerned that young children are now being given death threats
That's
and told
because
they
I
should
never
be
got
locked.
to the end of
They
my
should be
soliloquy
locked in their
because you wouldn't
school
shut up
and
long
burned to
enough.
death. Shut up. You talked 10 minutes about it.
Let me say something. 15, 16-year-old kids. 15, 16-year-old kids. If I had been there, personally, if I had been there, and that guy came walking up to me like that, beating on that drum, going, hey, 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 I would have started dancing around him.
Well, what about
started doing the one-legged hop.
Where was the
I think
teacher
it was
and
hilarious.
chaperone there?
Well, I agree with you there. I don't know where the chaperones were, but Franklin, the black Hebrew nationals, who did they single out in the group?
I couldn't
Guess
say
what?
that.
There are black kids that go to this school that were there. They singled them out and said, your classmates are going to kill you and steal your organs.
Okay.
Nobody's
Nobody's standing up for them,
They
John.
singled the black students out.
Nobody's standing up
And by
for
the
that
way,
group.
you're calling the school racist, but there were black.
I didn't call the school racist. I never said that.
You participated in the narrative, Franklin,
I did.
by defending the Indian pushed
said they
this,
shouldn't have
and
been
the
there.
black Hebrew nationals did this. The
What
kids
I-
are victims.
What I said
The kids
is
are victims.
That they should have
The
been
kids are
thinking about
victims.
that.
The kids are complete victims in this. They did the best they could. Most, there's a really good essay in National Review about this. Said, can you criticize a few things the kids did, like the couple that did the tomahawk chop? Sure. But on average, with kids today, they did pretty good with the situation they were put into. And now the progressive left is threatening them with rape, murder. Yes, Franklin. The Kathy Griffith called for them to be doxxed.
Progressive left, would that be the Native American groups in Kentucky
The
and
bunch
Cincinnati?
that were standing nose to nose with them. You mean the Indians that are now going to protest at the school?
That guy was threatening them, now you say.
The situation was threatening them, and he accelerated it and didn't decelerate it. He made it worse.
Singing is
He's
now
trying to
threatening
Franklin,
to these poor,
walked within
oppressed
3
kids.
inches. Do you know the concept of personal space?
Yeah.
Did he violate that young boy's personal space? Yes or no?
Maybe.
How far away from him?
Was anything stopping him from moving out of the way if he wanted to?
Oh, so the boy
No,
should
I
have
didn't
moved.
say
So
that.
in other words, he can walk up.
No,
he can
I'm just
walk
saying,
right up to him, and they have to move out of his way.
When the other kids surrounded him there,
Was
that different?
Hey, Frank, what would have happened if that guy had walked up and got that close and started beating that drum, and that boy just took his fist and popped him right in the nose?
They would have arrested him.
They would have arrested him.
And what would have happened? Why?
Because that's an unreasonable response
Well,
to somebody playing a drum.
Franklin, how much worse would it have been if the original narrative was true?
We allow people to act in self-defense for real threats.
Franklin, he's a 15-year-old boy, and a guy beating a drum walks up and stands 3 inches away from his nose, and you have the gall to say the boy is the problem. These boys were victims. They were victimized by multiple left-wing groups, and now they're being threatened and having to destroy their lives. And that's what your people do.
All right, we're about out of time, and I've just got to say, we came out of one good thing here today, that Franklin agrees with Donald Trump's proposal. He liked it. He couldn't find anything wrong with anything that I said about Donald Trump's proposal. So we found one Democrat.
Gosh, I'm going to head up his reelection campaign in Bradley County now.
Hey, we found one Democrat that's okay with Trump's proposal. He's right here in the studio with us this morning, Mr. Franklin Chansey. Thank you, Franklin, for supporting Donald Trump's proposal.
And look forward to the State of the Union address next week.
And look forward to the State of the Union. It might be coming to Bradley County.
I look forward to it every year.
You've been listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson, John Stanley.